Hey there! Today I'll share 5 helpful tips for beginner product photographers. I've been doing this for 15 years and these tips come from my personal experience. So, if you're new to the field, make sure to watch till the end. I'm sure that you'll find it useful, especially since I consider the last tip to be the most important. If you've already started doing product photography, you're probably familiar with the following situation. You take pictures and they look great on the camera's display. But the camera's display is physically small and its resolution is low, so you can't see all the details. Then, when you look at the photos on the computer, it turns out the focus is slightly off and the object is all covered in dust. It's frustrating. An external monitor can help you avoid this. I always use one and highly recommend it. It will save you a lot of time on retouching and help you avoid many mistakes in your photos. Plus, you often don't need to buy one specifically for this purpose. Almost any screen will do, such as a TV or a computer monitor. All you need is an HDMI port on both the monitor and the camera. Most modern cameras have one. Just connect the cable and usually everything works automatically. Don't worry if your TV or monitor isn't calibrated or the colors aren't perfect. The most important thing is that you can see the image large and in detail. But pay attention to 2 important things. HDMI ports on cameras come in different sizes – standard, micro or mini. You need to get the right cable. Secondly, don't try to plug the HDMI cable into your computer or laptop. It won't work that way. If you want to work with your laptop, you need to use a USB port. This is a bit more complicated because you need to install additional software for your camera. It could be software from the camera manufacturer or third-party software like Capture One. But you need to check if your specific camera model is supported by the software. However, when connected to a computer, you can not only see photos in high resolution, but also control the camera remotely, automatically transfer photos, and even edit them on the go. There is also an option to connect tablets via Wi-Fi if your camera supports it. I personally don't use this because the delay in transferring photos is too long for me, but it's an option that exists. Next tip. Many beginners think pros shoot in RAW and I'm a beginner, so I'll just use JPEG. And that's not quite right. It's actually very beneficial for beginners to shoot in RAW. When you're just starting out, you need to think about a lot of stuff when shooting. The background, the focus, the composition, the white balance and many more. Your skills are not yet automatic and it's difficult. Shooting in RAW will allow you not to think about white balance at all and to worry much less about proper exposure, because all of this can be easily corrected later in a photo editor. Shooting in RAW will give you room for error, and mistakes are normal for beginners. Play it safe, shoot in RAW. Moreover, since RAW contains much more information than JPEG, you can use this for creative purposes and do much more in-depth photo editing, working with colors and exposure. Shooting RAW has a couple of small drawbacks. The camera works slower with these files, but specifically for product photography it's not very critical. And these files take up more space on your computer, but believe me, it's worth it. Don't forget to prepare your model for the shoot. For some reason, when we take portraits, we all understand that the model needs to be prepared, brushed, made up. But when we shoot objects, we often don't think about it. The main object and all props should be clean, dust-free and wiped of fingerprints. Spend time preparing for the shoot and you'll save yourself a lot of time in post-processing. And for example, I used to shoot a lot of food for microstocks, and if I cut an orange in half and it didn't look good, I'd grab a new one and cut it again. Because if your model and props are unattractive, your photo will be too. Most people start their photography journey using natural light. It's free, has great qualities and doesn't require storage space like flashes do. There are genres of photography where using sunlight is necessary, such as landscape photography, and the photographer has to adapt to the lighting. But for product photography, I recommend switching to artificial light as soon as you can. Only artificial light gives you full control over the lighting. You're not dependent on the weather or time of day. You can control the angle of the light, the power of the lamp, and modify the light flow using modifiers. And just to emphasize, light has a huge impact on how the product will look in the photo. Can you take great pictures with sunlight? Yes, of course you can. But you set everything up, the sun goes behind the clouds and the light pattern changes. It doesn't look like you intended. The clouds moved the sun changes position, shadows fall differently, and again, it doesn't look right. With artificial light, it's much easier to get the result you envisioned. Yes, you'll have to spend some money on lighting, but believe me, you won't regret it. And the most important tip: don't use the lack of equipment as an excuse. Let's clarify right away. There are things that are very difficult or almost impossible to do without good equipment, but that's a tiny percentage. If you have the desire, you can create amazing photos. Social media is full of great work done with minimal investment. Sure, shooting with sunlight at home isn't as convenient as using studio flashes. And yes, taping a light to the back of a chair, like I did in the beginning of my career, isn't as convenient as mounting it on a good stand. But if you have the desire, you can make it work, and you can get the equipment later. Here are a few examples of how my students manage. Many of them have minimal equipment, but that doesn't stop them from shooting and enjoying the process. So don't be shy, keep shooting, watch tutorials, practice, and you'll get there, I promise. Please subscribe, and that's all for now. See you next time. Bye!